Alright, factoring quadratic equations. Here we go. First, let's just figure out what factoring is. Like I said, maybe something you saw in algebra 1. Maybe you didn't see it in algebra 1. Maybe you just don't remember it. That's fine. We're going to build it from the ground up. So factoring, really what it is. We are taking one polynomial. We'll talk about that more later, what a polynomial is. We're taking a polynomial, we're writing it as multiple polynomials multiplied together. So what that means in non-fancy terms is we're taking one thing, or one equation, we're splitting it up into multiple things or equations that are getting multiplied together. Okay, that's all it is. Right now we are focusing specifically on quadratic equations, and factoring these in particular, because that's what we've been focusing on. That's what we're going to keep focusing on for a little bit. We're just going to think about quadratics in particular. So here's how this is going to go. There's a process that we do to go through this. I'm going to show you the process one time. You just watch me do it. Like I said, it might seem really weird at first. You might be like, what the heck is going on? That's okay. If you feel like that, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. You don't need to be a pro at it today. I promise the more and more we do this, and practice it, it's going to get easier. Alright? So let's do this process. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The factor this thing. 4x squared plus 13x plus 3. In other words, we're going to take this equation, and split it up into some other things, get more factor. Alright, here's how we start. There's a little way to remember this. A times C add B. That's going to be like our guide for how we start this process. A times C add B. When I say A, C, and B, I'm talking about the coefficients. A, B, and C. It's in standard form, right? Ax squared plus bx plus c. So we've got our coefficients. That's what I mean when I'm talking about A, C, and B here. So first, I got to do A times C. So first times last. 4 times 3, that's 12. Amazing. Alright, here's what happens next. I'm going to ask myself a question. I need two numbers that multiply to 12, the number we got here, and simultaneously add to B. That's where the add to B thing comes in. B is the middle number. So I need two numbers that simultaneously multiply 12 and add to 30. Here we go. 12 to 1. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. Wow. Those are 3 numbers to me. So fast with me so far? Maybe? A little bit? Alright, so I multiplied A times C, got my two numbers, multiply 12, add 13, 12 more. Here's what we're going to do next. We are going to take our original equation, 4x squared plus 13x plus 2. We're going to take that and we're going to rewrite it. Except now, instead of using 13, I'm going to use the two numbers that I just came up with. Because 12 and 1 together are 13, right? So I'm going to rewrite it. Here's what it's going to look like. 4x squared, are you doing anything to that? It's 13x, so I'm going to have to slap x's onto these. Plus 12x plus 1x. And then I didn't do anything with 3. Cool with that? The point of expanding the equation is that what I'm going to do next needs 4 parts. Now I got 4 parts. Okay? So I took my two numbers, I broke this thing up into those two numbers. Here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to group them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. I'm going to split them in half with some parentheses. So I get this half, and I get this half. Split it up into two pieces. Okay? Next, I'm going to focus on one half at a time. So let's just look at this one. 4x squared plus 12x. I'm ignoring the second half. I'm just looking at the first half. And I'm asking myself, what is a GCF, or a greatest common factor, that I can take out of that? A number or something else that I should divide both 4x squared and 12x by? Okay, people say 4. Why 4? Because 4 goes into 4 and 12. Okay, so I can take out the 4. So if you have put out, yeah, you can take an x out as well. And I'll take the 4 out, but both of these things also have an x. I'm going to take out everything I can. And take out an x as well. So what that means is I'm dividing each of these pieces by 4x. And I'm going to write what's left over inside some parentheses. Okay? So I got to do 4x squared divided by 4x. What's that? Okay. X. 4 divided by 4 is gone. X squared divided by x is x. Same thing here. 12x divided by 4. What's that? Plus 3. Are we okay with that? Let's look at a GCF. Look at GCF is 4x. Now, I'm going to look at the other half. X plus 3. I'm going to ask myself the same thing. Is there a GCF I can take out? But I want to be strategic here. I want whatever I factor out of this thing to leave something that looks exactly like this. I want these things to match. They match. Oh my God. Okay, so I want these to match. I want them to match. They already match. Okay, so in that scenario, we can pull a little trick here, and we can say, well, they already match, so let's factor out a 1. Because that doesn't change anything. Right? So I take out a 1, I'm dividing this all by 1, it's x plus 3. And, oh goodness, they match. I have x plus 3 and x plus 3. Oh my heavens. Alright, so here's how I write the final. I'm going to take the repeated factor, x plus 3. That'll write that. And then I'm going to take the two GCFs that I took out. I'm going to put them together. And that makes another factor, 4x plus 1. And this is the final factor form of that equation. Alright, here we go, guys. We're going to do this one. I'm going to run through this one a little bit faster than the last one, so kind of follow along with the process. A times C, first times last. Negative 5, negative 4 times 5 is negative 20.
I got the genuine question. I'm having a mental breakdown.
Alright, I need two numbers that multiply. The negative 2 and add to negative 8, because negative 8 is the middle number. Remember, A times C adds to B. So what can we use? Negative 10 and 2. Oh my God. Sure.
Alright.
If you're having a hard time coming up with the numbers, just think about this. Here's how I think about it if I get stuck. Look at the number you're trying to multiply to, and just think about all the numbers that multiply to that thing. So what do you got? 120, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Those are the only factors of 20. You're trying to make -8 out of them. Well, 1 and 20 are not going to make 8. Anyway, you do it. 2 and 10, you could make some of them negative and it would work. 4 and 5 is never going to work. So it has to be 2 and 10 somehow. We make one of them negative and it works. Okay? Alright, now I got my two numbers. All switch forward. Remember, I take my original equation and I rewrite it with my two numbers in for the middle term. So it's negative 4x squared minus 10x plus 2x plus 5. And actually, just for the sake of this problem, I'm going to switch the order of how I did this.
For what?
Yeah.
Well, you could just switch the order.
Yeah, you'll get the same thing in the end. It doesn't matter. So instead of writing negative 10 first, I'm going to write 2. You'll get the same thing in the end. I want that to freak you out. I just want to show you one of those. Alright, so I rewrote my equation with the numbers. Doesn't matter what order you write them in. And then I group them up. Notice how I included the negative sign in the second group. That's important. You want to make sure you have that. So I look at the first piece and ask myself, what is the GCF I can take out of that? So I need a 2 and a negative 2. Here's the deal. You can take out 2, you can take out negative 2. Neither one of them is really wrong. I like to sort of avoid negatives in my answer. So here's a pro tip that I can give you. If the first thing is negative, that's a dead giveaway that you should factor out a negative number. Okay? So since this is a negative 4, I'm going to factor out a negative 2. And some people said I can also take out an x, which is good. And if they both have an x, you can also take out an x. I'm dividing each of these pieces by negative 2. So negative 4x divided by negative 2x, that's x. 2x divided by negative 2x is negative 1. Sorry, 2x right. You okay with that? Yeah. I divided it all by negative 2, and that's what I have left over. Alright, then I look at the second half, and I ask myself the same question, what's the GCF? But remember, you got to be strategic here. You want this to end up looking like 2x minus 1. And remember the pro tip I just gave you. If the first thing is negative,
Negative 5.
take out a negative. So maybe you'll take out a negative 5. 5 goes into both of those things. Since it's negative, I'm going to make it negative. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 is 2x. 5 divided by negative 5 is minus 1. And oh my gosh! They match.
You know, we're supposed to do this. We don't have that.
Which is exactly what I want. So the answer is the repeated factor 2x minus 1 and the two GCFs put together. And there we are. You guys can negative Alright guys, one more example here and I'll stop talking to you, okay? One more, this one's going to go fast. Alright, ready? I'm going to go through this one a little bit fast.
Wait, let me write the problem.
X squared minus 8x plus 12. Same process, I'm going to go through this a little bit faster. I'll pick up the pace a little bit. Remember, you don't have to be a pro today, by any means. It'll get easier the more we do it. Alright, A times C. What is A? Zero. It's 1. There's nothing in front of it, so we know that there's a 1. Alright, so 1 times 12 is 12. I need two numbers that multiply to 12 and add to negative 8. Oh, God.
6 and 2.
But 6 plus 2 is positive 8.
Okay, give me a minute. Negative 6 and negative 2.
Negative 6 and negative 2, sure, just take the negative. That'll work. Negative 2, negative 6. If I multiply those, I get positive 12. If I add them, I get negative 8. So I rewrite my equation with those numbers, minus 2x, minus 6x, plus 12. Also good?
Yeah.
Now I group them up. Remember, I include the sign here. I don't want the sign outside the parentheses. I want it to be a part of that half. I look at the first half. X squared minus 2x. What can you factor out of that? 1x. There's no numbers, that's fine. So just an x. And then I write what's left over inside the parentheses. So x squared divided by x is x. Negative 2x divided by x. Negative 2. And now I look at the second half. Remember, we must choose something to factor out that will make this thing match x minus 2. So what do you want to factor out? Negative 6. Remember, it's a dead giveaway. If the first thing is negative, that means you're going to factor out a negative. So, we have negative 6. This is going to be x. 12 divided by negative 6 is negative 2. Woo! They match. Amazing. So I get x minus 2, the repeated factor, and then I take x minus 6, the two GCFs, smash them together, and we're good. So guys, again, the point of this is that you're taking a quadratic equation, you're breaking it up into two other things being multiplied together. So if you multiplied these things together, I'm not going to do it, but if you did it, if you double distributed, multiplied these together, you get back to here. So these are the same things, they're just written different. Alright, one quick thing and then I'm done. What do you notice? Do you notice anything about the numbers involved in this problem that we just did? Maybe the numbers in the answer and the numbers in the middle of the problem?
No.
Does it always do that? Does it X? Well, there's X at all.
No, the answer is negative 2, negative 6. I know.
Oh, whoa! Oh my gosh! Negative 2, negative 6, those are the numbers we got at the beginning! Oh my gosh! But did that happen on the other one? That did not happen on the other one. So, maybe I'm just pointing out a shortcut to you right now. If you want to do this process on every single problem, it'll work every single time. Okay, there's no way this is not going to work unless of course you do that. But there are shortcuts here. If the leading coefficient is 1, like it was here, it'll be right. A is 1 on this one. A is not 1 on this one. And A is not 1 on this one. But if A is 1, your answer is just going to be the two numbers that you came up with, slap next to some X's and put in parentheses. There's a shortcut. Again, you can still do this process, but that is an option. Okay?